Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto is from the two greatest clans. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on social media platform, and also stay in tune because after this I'm going to be giving you a new episode of What If Naruto was neglected by everyone. So stay in tune for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And over on Anime King 2, I'm going to be giving you What If Orochimaru was Naruto's father, so stay in tune for that. And I'm also going to be giving you What If Naruto was a god amongst men. So stay in tune for that as well guys, and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah guys, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their
So, the last spot we left off, after reading a note from his father, Minato wanted nothing to do with Madara. So he told that white thing to screw off the next time it came. Minato was in the forest training when Kushina was being captured by Kumo ninjas. But they disguised themselves well as they didn't have any headband, anything to identify them as Kumo ninjas. As Saruto was currently having a meeting to sign a ceasefire with Kumo, Kushina was talking to the fox inside of her, seeing that her chakra was sealed but the fox was not, as the fox told her he would give her power because if they take her she would probably die and she would never see that boy she liked again. As Kushina agreed with that, as it was too much, as the fox poured a lot of his chakra on purpose, trying to take over. As Kushina went on a rampage, blowing away all of them, Minato arrived as Kushina started to attack him. But after a while he snapped her out of it. She started to cry because she thought he was going to hate her now, but he told her it's alright, and that made her cry even more. Tsunade arrived the next morning from her mission as she was cursing and angry as she wanted to know who did this, as Sarutobi had no idea. And he had an idea though, but he didn't want to tell Tsunade because the cloud just come to sign this ceasefire and then this happened. But he knows if he tells Tsunade now, she will go on a rampage and try to do something, and that would just cause war, so he kept it to himself. Tsunade went over as she talked to Minato as she thanked him for all he did, as she invited him over for dinner. The time then passed as they all grew up, as they became jonins, and Minato and Kushina relationship bloomed. The both of them confessed to each other that they liked each other. And from that they started their date, as nothing made Tsunade more happy, as she liked Minato very much, because he was the one that saved her daughter that day, and he was also a nice, kind boy. As the years passed, Kushina got pregnant. At the night of her birth, Tsunade was there as well, when the masked man appeared, as he grabbed baby Naruto, as he wrapped explosive tags all over him. Minato vanished with Naruto, as he brought him to a waste field, as Minato activated Susanoo and the explosive tag exploded right beside him. But his Susanoo protected him and Naruto. He then flashed back, as Tsunade told him that her daughter was taken. Minato's Sharingan ability is to stamp a person in his eye. From his study with his Mangekyo Sharingan, he can teleport anywhere you are. It's like the Hiraishin but better, he doesn't have to use any kunai. As the masked man had Kushina tied up with chains, but before he knew it, Minato appeared in a flash, as Minato was able to blend his nature with the Rasengan that he created, as him and Jiraiya was talking about the Tail Beast bomb, as Minato drive his Purgatory Rasengan straight into the masked man. The masked man was sent flying away, as Minato created a clone to watch over Kushina while he ends this, because this masked man is not Madara who he claimed to be. But the masked man got protected by a bone skin coming out of the ground. It looked like a Venus flytrap, as with that he disappeared, knowing that he couldn't take on Minato in this state. As Minato flashed back, their kid was safe. Time passed, it was 5 years, as we have Naruto. He had black hair with a hint of red in it, dark red. As Naruto and his family was having dinner, as he asked his mother and father that if they can have another baby, as this caused the both of them to choke on their food. That made Tsunade laugh. As he asked them where baby came from, as Kushina told him that there was a start that brought him here. As Tsunade saw a smile came on Naruto's face, but he said it was nothing. The next morning he went out. As he was leaving the Uchiha compound, Sasuke's sister Samantha saw him. As she followed him, as the both of them arrived at the Forest of Death, as Naruto told her what his mother and father said about the start, as he said he was going to find it. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can choose your contemplation and check it out for yourself. So let's start this new episode. Naruto, I don't think we're gonna find a start in here, Samantha said, as she was looking around, as she was trembling a bit, because she was scared, as she was hearing weird noises. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine, Naruto said, as he marched forward. I have to find that start. As he kept on looking around, as it's been more like an hour now and they still haven't found anything yet, and he knew soon enough his mother and father are gonna get worried, or Mikoto or Fukaku are gonna get worried about Samantha. Damn it, where is it, he said as he looked around. Naruto then noticed a giant nest as it was up in the trees. I believe that's it, he said. As Samantha looked up, how are you sure, she asked. I just know it, he said. As he looked up at the tree, you stay here. He then started to climb up. As it took him a while, but he finally reached up there. As he saw a nest, there was 3 eggs inside of it. The moment he reached up, the eggs started to crack. Huh? As the eggs cracked open to reveal baby birds, Naruto then heard a screech. As he saw a giant bird flying coming towards him. It was a mother coming towards her nest. In his scared moment, he slipped off as he fell down really hard as he hit his arm, as it was in incredible pain. Samantha rushed over to him. He was about to cry out in pain, but she grabbed his mouth with her hand, stopping him from saying anything. As Naruto looked at her, as he saw the giant bird landed, and looking around, as Samantha was shaking beyond disbelief, as she was scared. As Naruto was scared as well, what has he gotten them into? As the bird looked around for a couple more seconds, until it took off again. As she removed her hand, as Naruto clenched his teeth so he wouldn't scream. Are you okay? She asked. I think it's broken, Naruto said. Let's get out of here, I was wrong. As Samantha gave him a hand to help him up. As the both of them started to walk slowly through the forest, the ground started to tremble. It's been an hour, so they were rather deep in the forest. As Samantha then looked around, Naruto, what is that? She said. As Naruto felt fear, as he sensed and felt something coming towards them, something rather large from how the ground was shaking. As a giant centipede emerged. As Naruto and Samantha stood there in shock, as the thing was looking straight at them. As Naruto remembered what his mother told him, his ancestor Hoshirama Senju created this forest, but because he poured too much chakra into this forest, the insects and the animals grew large off of his chakra. As Naruto and Samantha was shaking, Samantha saw that Naruto's arm seemed to be broken and he wasn't in a state to do anything. She stepped forward. Samantha, what are you doing? As she was shaking really badly, even though she was afraid, she couldn't let this thing hurt him. I'm gonna protect you, she said as she stood in front of him. As Naruto was about to say something, when the centipede dashed forward, as it slammed its giant body right into Samantha, as she was sent flying back as she hit against a tree, scratching her forehead as a small tiny drop of blood fell down. Naruto quickly rushed over to her. As she was out cold, he couldn't wake her. Samantha, Samantha, he screamed, but she wouldn't get up. As the centipede rushed towards him, as Naruto right there felt it, he felt like he was going to die. As he looked back at Samantha, he didn't have the strength and power to stop this thing. As he was scared, he has to run. He grabbed Samantha and threw her over his shoulder with his one arm as he started to run. But the centipede was just too fast as it crashed into the both of them. As Samantha fell over and so did Naruto, as Naruto looked over at her as he tried to reach out to her, but the centipede came over him. As Naruto closed his eyes thinking that he was going to die. But suddenly, he saw his mother. He then saw his father. And he saw his grandmother. As he chuckled, To himself, she never liked when he called her that. He even saw Samantha and Sasuke and Mikato and his friends that he met at the park. No, what was he thinking about giving up? He could not die. Not now! When Naruto snapped his eyes open, two things happened. For one, his eyes were no longer normal. He had this Sharingan. The one told him, but Naruto didn't realize that. And suddenly, chains break from the ground as they grabbed the centipede, as they smashed him into a nearby boulder. As Naruto slowly picked himself up, the chains were coming from his back as they went in the ground and exploded outwards because he was lying on his back. As he looked over at the centipede, it picked itself back up as it rushed at Naruto. As Naruto stood there perfectly calm, his Sharingan just glaring at the thing. The thing charged forward as Naruto extended his chains forward. They dig right into his side, stopping it in its tracks. As Naruto lifted up in the air with his chains and smashed it into the ground. Naruto then pulled himself towards it. Chains wrapped around Naruto's hand as he clenched his fists. As the chains had spikes on them, as Naruto leaped forward, the centipede was pinned down on the ground the rest of the chains as he drive his fist downwards. As he delivered a powerful punch as the spikes tear right through the centipede's head, ending the giant beast's life. As Naruto collapsed over, he fell down to the ground as he looked at his hand. The chains slowly went away. His other hand was still broken. As he quickly looked over at Samantha, he rushed over as fast as he could. As he lifted her up, as he placed her over his shoulder where the broken hand was, because you need to climb the gate with his free hand. As he wrapped his arm around her, as he was in intense pain, but he has to get her home. He cannot let anything happen to her. As Naruto struggled as he finally arrived at the gates, he slowly pulled himself over the gate with Samantha on his shoulder. The moment he came out, he collapsed down to the ground, but he turned on his back as Samantha fell down in his chest so she wouldn't get any hurt. As Naruto lay there, he then heard voices. Hey, is that kids? As the last thing Naruto saw was people rushing over him as he fell unconscious. Time skip. Naruto heard voices as he heard a lot of voices talking. He could hear his mother, his father, and his grandmother. He slowly opened his eyes. They were in the house at the Uchiha compound. As his mother first saw that, she quickly rushed over to saying a word as she gave him a quick hug, squeezing him rather tight as tears are flowing out of her eyes. As no one said a thing, as Minato walked over and hugged the both of them, as a smile was planted across Nadia's face as she was happy. When she heard that the kid was injured, she was panicking and scared. She lost so much already. She lost her brother at a young age, and that made her scared for the kid's life. But she was happy that he was okay now. They break the hug as Kushina looked towards Naruto, tears streaming down her face. Naruto, what were you thinking? She said to him. As Naruto started to cry, as Kushina hushed him. Don't cry, she said. As she didn't mean to be rough or angry or anything. She just didn't know why would he go there. Why would he go to the forest of death? Naruto looked around. Where's Samantha? He said. Is she alright? As Minato smiled. She's fine. She's home, resting. As Naruto released a sigh of relief. I'm sorry, he said. I just wanted to find the Stark. The what? Said Kushina. Well, you told me that if I want another baby sister or brother, I have to find the Stark. As Minato and Kushina pale when they realized what he was talking about. As they told him that and he tried. They know Naruto's attitude already, but they never think he would go that far. As they realized this was mostly their fault. And then that thing, it attacked us. And as Naruto started to cry even more, mumbling his words. As Nadia walked over to him as she placed a hand on his head and ruffled his hair. It's alright, kid. You don't have to be scared anymore, she said to him. Remember what I told you, she said. Yeah, you'll always be there to help me up, Naruto said. That's right. And as long as I'm here, you will always be fine, said Snazzy. Hearing that, Naruto looked towards his grandmother and smiled, as she smiled back at him. Meanwhile, Mikoto was holding a crying Samantha. It's okay, Samantha, said Mikoto, as she held her tight. It's okay, as Samantha cried in her mother's shoulder. As Sasuke walked up, what happened, he asked. Well, Samantha said as she was crying and stuttering at the same moment, we went into the forest of death, and then this giant thing attacked us, and it knocked me out, and I don't know, she said. From what I heard, it was Naruto who took you out of the forest, said Mikoto. Naruto, said Sasuke. Why were you in there in the first place? Well, we were looking for the Stark. The Stark? Said Mikoto. Yeah, Naruto's mother told him that babies come from Stark, and Naruto's wanting a baby sister or brother. So we went to find the Stark. A amused look came on Mikoto's face as she just held on to her child. Really, Kushina? Stark? Well, she hadn't really told her daughter or son about any of that yet. Well, they were too young. But Naruto asked the question that all parents fear to answer. So Kushina had to make up something, as she wondered what was Minato and Kushina's reaction to that. As she just held on to her daughter tight. Everything is alright now. But promise me, never, and I mean never, unless you are fit to go back in there, never go back in the forest of death. I promise, Mom, I'll never go back in there. As she hugged her daughter very tight. Moments later, promise me, Naruto, never go back in there, said Kushina. I promise, Mom, I'll never go back in there, said Naruto. As Kushina smiled at him. Oh yeah, said Naruto. When that thing attacked us, I used chains. You what? Said Kushina. Yeah, chains. I didn't know how. As Kushina smiled upon hearing that. You have the Uzumaki ability as well? Yes, that is how I defeated it. Let me show you, Naruto said as he closed his eyes as he was trying to bring out the chains. But it wasn't working. What's going on? He said. He opened back his eyes as the three of them stared at him. What's wrong? Naruto asked. Naruto, your eyes. As Minato stepped forward, he pulled a mirror, a small mirror, as he handed it to Naruto. As Naruto looked into it, he had the Sharingan. Wait, when did this happen? He said. It's probably when you were scared back then, facing off against that creature, said Minato. As Minato was beyond surprised for his son to activate the Sharingan at an age like this. Wow, Naruto said. I have the Sharingan. As he looked at his hands, that is why it felt so different back then. That is why it seemed so slower. I never realized it, he said. But the chains, why aren't they coming out, he said. As Kushina placed a hand on his shoulder. It might be just a rush. But then, you have to work on it, Naruto. Snazzy turned as she looked up on the clock. She then looked at Minato. Aren't you supposed to be at the office, she asked. As he rubbed the back of his head. I wasn't even thinking about that. I heard that my son was in danger, and I simply flashed away and came here. Dad, before you go, said Naruto, I want you to train me. You too, Mom, in making me learn more about these chains. And I want you to train me with a Sharingan, Dad. As he then turned to Snazzy. And you too, he said. I want to learn to protect people with medical ninjutsu, and also that super strength you possess. If I wasn't so lucky, something really bad would have happened, and it would have been all my fault for bringing her there in the first place, Naruto said. And I couldn't imagine living with myself, as a few tears streamed out of his eyes. As Kushina walked over and hugged him. It's alright, Naruto. Don't worry, we will begin your training. We will make you stronger than ever, she said. Really? Naruto said, as she gave him a smile, so you can protect yourself and your loved ones. As Naruto smiled hearing that, that's gonna be awesome, he said. Later that night, in a room we have Minato, Danzo, along with the two elders, and Shisui Uchiha, and Itachi Uchiha. As Danzo turned towards Itachi and Shisui, what have you learned, he said. Well, my father is the one that is leading the coup as expected. We believe that Minato has gotten in power and become Hokage, and we still doesn't have the power that we need. Hearing that, Minato clenched his fist a bit. He has been doing so much. He has been trying to get both sides on equal. He has been trying to allow each of the clans to have the right amount of power they deserve in the village. He has even freed up some of the sections, giving the Uchiha police force all reign over the entire village. But Fukaku didn't want that. Just because Minato was the Hokage, he wanted the Uchihas to take over the village completely. Just because Minato was a Hokage. But that is not how things go. As it stands, Minato has to listen to the Fire Lord as well. And he was their supporter, the Fire Country, that sent in missions to Konoha. So does he really think that he can control everything just because Minato is a Hokage? Minato has talked to him about that countless times, but Minato cannot let him know that he knows about the coup, as Itachi and Shisui are currently their spies. As Fukaku think that Itachi is working on his side, but he's working on Minato's side. I guess we have to go with plan B, said Minato, as he looked towards Shisui. As Shisui nodded to the Hokage, the upcoming meeting is in 4 days, said Itachi. We will do it then. As Minato dismissed the both of them, as he then turned towards Danzo and the two elders. He looked at Danzo. What do you think? He said. I believe this is the only way, Danzo said. As he looked at the two elders. I believe this meeting is now over, he said, as he got up and walked away. As the two elders left as well, as Minato stood there. Minato knew that man didn't like him very much. That man Danzo. He seemed to hate everything when it comes to Sharingan. But they have a plan to stop this coup. Shisui was going to use the ability to control Fukaku without him even noticing. That is the only way to settle all of this in peace. Because Minato loved the Uchihas. He loved the rest of the village as well. He loved all of it combined. But when it comes up to his son and his family, that is something he separated from all of this. He lost his dad when he was younger. And for that, he made a vow back then if he ever had a kid, he would never let that kid go through anything without him being there. It doesn't matter what, he will always put his son in front of everything in this village. And that is how his mindset is. He loves his son too much to see him in a bad state. Yes, once Shisui does this, everything will be okay. The next day, Minato was in his office as he was bubbling in utter rage. The reason being, Shisui Uchiha died. Last night, everything was going so smoothly. The plan was to go through nicely. But now, Shisui has died. And the last person to be with him was Itachi. There was a knock on his door as the secretary let in Itachi. Envoys, leave, said Minato, as the envoys left the room. As Minato went through hand sign, as a private seal was activated, he looked towards Itachi. Itachi, what happened? He said. I don't know, Itachi said. What do you mean you don't know? You were the last person with Shisui. How did he die? Itachi didn't know what to say. Even though he was working under the Hokage, he was a root ninja. He knew what happened to Shisui. It was Danzo, as Shisui told him before, giving him his eye. As Itachi activated his Mangita Sharingan last night, when Shisui fell off that cliff. But Minato just didn't know what to say. Danzo had another goal, and seeing that Shisui is now dead, Itachi realized that Minato would try to solve this in a peaceful way. But he knew his father will not use that way. He will go by the way of war, and that will just hurt the both sides of the village, the civilians, the other kids, and the Uchihas. So he believed the right way now is Danzo's way, even though he hated that man for what he did to Shisui. And his brother was taking it badly. Even Naruto was taking it badly. Seeing that Shisui was a close friend to them, he always had a smile on his face. He was always there, playing with them when no one else was. Itachi stood there, as he couldn't tell Minato that it was Danzo. If he did, he knew how Minato would react. Even though Minato seemed calm and gentle most of the time, he knew that Minato would flip out and do something bad, and this would just destroy all of the plans. As he knew that Minato would most likely take this up to Danzo and there will be an execution. But still, they had no proof. Because Danzo's soldiers, Roots, they were like shadows. They were like they weren't even there. Itachi didn't say anything as he lifted up his head. But the moment he did, his throat was grabbed violently by Minato. As Minato slammed him straight down into the decks. Minato Mangekyou Sharingan activated. And by itself, reacting to Minato Mangekyou Sharingan, Itachi's Mangekyou activate as well. As the both of them stare in each other's eyes. What did you do? Itachi, answer me, said Minato, as he looked straight down at him. Did you kill him to get these eyes? I've been hearing rumors going around that you were the one responsible for his death. Tell me that it isn't true. Tell me that isn't true, Itachi, said Minato. No, I was not responsible for his death. Shisui got attacked. By who? Said Minato. I don't know, said Itachi. They were ninjas, wearing masks. Different country, different village envoy. I don't know where they are or how did they got into the village. But that was what Shisui told me. He was attacked by masked ninjas. He and them fought as they took one of his eyes and they hit him with a strange poison. What? Said Minato. There isn't. Most shinobis that can take on Shisui. They were elite shinobis, expert. It seems like they knew how to deal with the Sharingan, said Itachi in a rather calm tone even though Minato was glaring down at him. The poison was slowly killing Shisui. He said he could feel it, so he gave me his other eye. He then jumped off the cliff, ending his life. Minato released Itachi as he pulled back, as he was angry, frustrated and sad. Very sad about Shisui's death. As he sat back down in his chair, I'm sorry, he said. All of this anger and everything is just rather frustrating. What about the meeting? Said Minato. It's been pushed back to a week because of Shisui's death. I will enter this once and for all. What do you mean by that? Asked Itachi. I will go to Fukaku himself in that meeting. I will arrive. I will try to change them all. I will talk because I want to talk to all of his supporters. I don't want to leave any of them out. And I want to talk to him himself, but I'll be there at that meeting. Itachi, I want you to be there as well. I need to show them that even though I'm a Uchiha, I cannot do that much. I cannot hand over the reins of the village to the Uchihas. That is just not possible. But what if it doesn't work? What if he doesn't listen to you? Said Itachi. I cannot put him into jail. There isn't any evidence showing that he's planning a coup. There has just been meeting and talks. But Itachi, you know if this is followed through, a lot of people will die. My family is also in the Uchiha compound. And so is your mother. And your twin brother and sister. I know, Itachi said. So, if it comes up to it, I'm afraid I will have to put him down, Minato said in a rather serious tone. But his followers will still be there. But they will need someone new, a new head of the clan. Me? Said Itachi. I believe that is the only way if this comes out bad to worse. For you to change them and show them what is right. You, Itachi, you're different. You don't want war. You want everything to be solved and peace. So I believe that is the only way. Just make sure to be at the meeting. I believe if we don't change him now, we're going to have to go through with plan B. Itachi nodded. You may be dismissed, as Itachi went off. Later that day, Itachi was in front of Danzo. What? Danzo said. That stupid man. He's planning to face Fukaku on his own terms. Does he really think that the man will listen to him? Tell me, Itachi, what do you think? My father is stubborn. He will not listen to Minato. He thinks because Minato is a Uchiha, the Uchiha should have all the power. Huh. Even though you're a Uchiha yourself, you see the bigger picture, the protection of Konoha. As Itachi didn't say anything, Itachi, there is only one way to do this. And what is that? Asked Itachi. You must exterminate the Uchiha clan. Itachi froze hearing that. What? He said to him. You have the skills and the power. In the dead of night, you must eradicate all members. Because if this continue up, the revolt will happen. And Konoha, the people, more will die. Do you rather a couple hundreds or a couple thousands? What? I can't, said Itachi. Itachi, you know this is the only way. You have to take them all. And you know if you leave any one of them alive, they will have a burning hatred for Konoha and you. You know what those eyes of yours have. The curse of hatred. For them to revolt. What about the Hokage, said Itachi. Once he see that the job is done, and the village is safe, I believe that he won't do any actions against it. But Itachi, you know you have to be a missing nin. You'll have to do the wrong for peace. As Itachi stood there, as his mind was full of so many things right now, as he was thinking about his brother and his sister, his mother and his father, about little Naruto as well. As he looked at the man in front of him, seeing that man seemed to enjoy giving these kind of orders, as Itachi was furious. But could this really be the only way? Could this really be the only way to bring peace and protect Konoha and everything? You have 5 days. Any less than that, the meeting will happen, and Minato will face your father, and you know what will happen. And if that's the case, I will rather send my envoys to wipe out each and every one of them. But if you do it, you can save your brother and sister. I will make sure no harm comes your way. And I'm sure the Hokage will do the same. But everyone else has to go. What about the Hokage's child? Said Itachi. That one can remain as well. Because we don't want the Hokage after you trying to kill you. As Itachi just stood there, as his mind was conflicted on what to do. 3 days later, Sasuke and his sister was in the park. As Naruto walked over there seeing the both of them. Hey Sasuke twins, he said. As Sasuke eyebrow and twitch. As Samantha chuckled, I told you to stop calling us that. What's wrong, Naruto said. Your name is Sasuke. Her name is Samantha. Sasuke twins. As Sasuke clenched his fist. Stop calling us that, he said. As that only made Samantha and Naruto chuckle. No, you're laughing at me, he said, looking at his sister. Well, it's funny, she said. As Sasuke growled at Naruto. You're just jealous, Naruto said. Jealous? Why would I be of you? Because you don't have these, Naruto said, as he activated his Sharingan. As Sasuke clenched his fists. As from Naruto to activate those eyes, he kept on showing them off. As Sasuke got up, it doesn't matter if you have the Sharingan, you're still not better than me. Naruto chuckled. You should know, my mother and father have been showing me a few things. And my grandmother as well. It doesn't matter, said Sasuke, as he stood to his feet. As Samantha looked between the both of them. You guys stop it, she said. No, I'm gonna show him once and for all that he's not better than me, said Sasuke. As Naruto looked at him. Bring it on. Sasuke rushed forward and he sent a right hook towards Naruto's face. But Naruto ducked under it, as he palm struck Sasuke in the stomach. As Sasuke fell over. But Sasuke quickly picked up himself, as he dashed towards Naruto again, as Naruto dodged his strikes. You're moving rather slow, Sasuke, he said, as Sasuke grit his teeth and brought her on his leg, but Naruto grabbed it and flipped him around, as Naruto put his hand behind him and knee down on him, pinning him to the ground. You gave up? Never, Sasuke said. I said give up. As Samantha saw the both of them there, as she walked over and just jumped on the both of them, hugging the both of them really tight. You two give up, she said, as she held down to them rather tight. As Naruto just looked at her and so did Sasuke, as the three of them started to laugh, as that quelled the mood. As they sit down, you know I'm kidding, right, Sasuke? Soon enough you will activate these eyes. And you too, Samantha, Naruto said. Well, I'm not in a rush, she said to him. Well, I am, Sasuke said. I want to become strong as brother. Well, me too, said Samantha. But brother is far, far stronger than us. Do you really think we can catch up with him? As Naruto smiled hearing that, don't worry, once we all train, we will become stronger and surpass them all. As the three of them looked up, as they saw the sky start to get dark. I guess we need to go home, Sasuke said. Perhaps you're right, Samantha said. We don't want to get wet. And with that, the three of them headed off. 2 days later, it was daytime as Itachi was currently on the tower as he was watching his brother and sister and also Naruto as the three of them were playing. They were in the academy as it was lunchtime as he was watching them. Today is the day. As he saw their smiles, he then turned as he saw other children on the road running. Civilian children smiling and playing with each other. As he was in between the two of them, his family and the village family and the village itself. As he realized there was only one decision to make here. There was only one way to do this. As he flashed away. Later that day, Minato didn't know what it was, but today he just got more paperwork. As his paperwork seemed rather strange. If he didn't know better, it was like someone was trying to make him stay here intentionally. But he shook it off. As he kept on doing them, there was a lot of them. Some of them rather useless that the council could deal with herself. But he knew that he could get them over with rather quickly. As he wanted to see the state of the village himself. The economy, what is going on right now. The shops, everything. So he went through all of them. But he wanted to go home to his family. But his family was not home either. As Sasuke, Samantha, and Naruto, they were at the ice cream shop as they all were eating ice cream. The reason they were out so late it was because of Tsunade, as she was helping a nearby family. Their daughter was rather sick, a strange illness, and Kushina decided to come along since her mother has been teaching medical ninjutsu as well. She decided to see what she can do. And Naruto wanted to come with them, but he also wanted some ice cream. And Sasuke and Samantha tag along. But even though they were enjoying their ice cream, you could see that the three of them wanted to sleep. As Naruto started to rub his eyes. Naruto, you okay? Said Samantha. Yeah, I'm just rather tired, he said. Meanwhile, at the Uchiha compound, in the dead of night, as the people were sleeping, someone dashed through the halls, slicing down people. But it wasn't him alone. At the police force, there was another man, a masked man, as he was helping with the eradication of the Uchiha clan, easily wiping them out because they were passing right through him. This was just a bit of his revenge, as he helped Itachi kill the members of the Uchiha clan, as it was a massacre. On the four corners of the Uchiha compound was 4 root agents, as they all were pumping chakra in a silent seal to keep a barrier around the Uchiha clan so no one could hear a thing. As the 2 members inside massacred the entire clan. We then skipped to Itachi as he was standing over his mother and father, the both of them lying on the ground dead. Tears were streaming down Itachi's face as he just stood there, unmoving. Meanwhile, Naruto, Samantha, Sasuke, you 3 look rather tired, said Kushina. I think it's time that I took you home. As Samantha nodded as she stretched. I'm really tired. Yeah, I want to go home now. I can still stay up, said Sasuke. As Naruto looked over at him. Yeah, me too. I don't feel tired at all. As Kushina chuckled. They always have their little rivalry. She didn't know why, but she felt a pit in her stomach like something bad was going to happen. Hey, where's Grandma? Naruto asked. Oh, she'll be done soon, but I'll take you 3 home. Alright, Naruto said. Let's go. And with that, the group headed off. Kushina arrived into the Uchiha compound. She found it rather silent. Even though it was night, she didn't even hear anything. That was strange. She then stopped. You 3, stay here. Mom, what's wrong? Asked Naruto. Yeah, what's wrong? Said Sasuke. As Samantha looked around, as she didn't hear anything, not even a single noise. That was strange. There has to be some kind of seal or something to be stopping the noise from coming out. She then turned and kneeled to them. As she gave them a big smile. You 3 just stay here, I'll be back, okay? And with that, she headed off at top speed. She quickly burst into the Uchiha compound, and the sight she came upon shocked her, as she saw bodies littered on the ground, as she couldn't believe what she was seeing. As she walked around and saw the dead bodies all over the place, as tears instantly came to her eyes. Who could have done this? As she then saw a flash on one of the rooftops, she took off at top speed, reaching the person. The person stopped after she called out, "Itachi," she said as she saw him. "Who did this?" as she looked around. But she then saw the look on his face, and she saw his hand coated in blood. "Don't tell me. Itachi, it can't be. You didn't do this, right? Itachi, answer me," she said to him, as she heard about what happened with Shisui, even though Minato told her that it wasn't Itachi. But after seeing this, "Itachi, what happened here? Answer me," she said to him. Itachi looked at her, as for a split second she saw remorse in his eyes. She then heard screaming as she turned to see the three kids taking her eyes off Itachi. But that was the second that he needed, as he appeared behind her and chopped her in the back of the neck, as he jumped down and rested her on the ground calmly. The three kids rushed over as they saw Itachi, as Naruto got pissed when he saw his mother in Itachi's arms. It looked like he was holding her down to the direction that Naruto was, as he saw Itachi's hands in blood. But he could not believe it. This couldn't be happening, as he then turned to see both Sasuke and Samantha standing there, their eyes wide. As the three of them didn't say anything, Itachi then turned towards them. He had his blank look on his face. But guys, I'm ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in social media platform, guys. But for now, I'm out of here. Peace.